Singapore residents driving back from Johor Bahru from Friday will need to fill up the SG arrival card if they're vaccinated. With a view like this, how much will new homes in the greater southern waterfront sell for? And police are searching for a man who shot 10 people in a New York subway. He's still at large. Hello, you're watching The Big Story with me, Olivia Quay. Remember to subscribe to the Straits Times channel so you never miss an episode. With traffic expected to get heavier at the Woodlands and Tuas land checkpoints beginning from this upcoming long weekend, from Friday, vaccinated Singaporeans, PRs and long-term pass holders will not need to fill up the SG arrival card. The Immigration and Checkpoints Authority says waiving this requirement will make crossing more convenient for eligible travellers, particularly those who come in daily for work or studies. Let's delve deeper into this with transport correspondent Toh Ting Wei. Ting Wei, let's take a step back first. What is the SG arrival card? It's not a physical card, right?
Yeah, so the SG arrival card is basically an online health declaration that was actually introduced at the start of the COVID-19 pandemic back in March 2020. So what you can do is to submit this through either ICA's website or mobile app. And in terms of the details you need to fill in, there will be things like your names, your IC, then your date of arrival, and you also have to list the countries that you have visited in the past 7 or 14 days. And lastly, you also have to list whether you have suffered any COVID-related symptoms recently, such as maybe a cough or a runny nose.
Right. So given that important information regarding health and even your travel history is submitted in this SG arrival card, why is it deemed all right for this requirement to be waived at the land checkpoints and not, say, our air and sea borders?
So I think one of the biggest considerations in this latest decision is a practical consideration, because if things get back to normal, you are looking at 415,000 people going between Singapore and Johor on a daily basis. So let's say if all of these people are required to fill the arrival card and some of them still don't fill it, then you are looking at a delay that will easily snowball. It takes maybe about 2 to 3 minutes to fill the form, or even maybe less than 1 minute. But if you have maybe 50,000 people not filling the cards, you can imagine that the queue will grow quite fast. And ICA also pointed out that the land checkpoint is mostly used by Singapore residents and also long-term pass holders. But in terms of the air and sea borders, we are looking at travellers from all around the world. So what ICA has said is that this declaration will help them at least try to detect diseases that might be coming in from around the world, such as beyond COVID-19, we are looking at maybe Ebola, yellow fever as a couple of other examples.
Well, the SG arrival card no longer a requirement for Singapore citizens, PRs and long-term pass holders entering via the land checkpoints. But Ting Wei, what other measures still apply at all of Singapore's borders?
So in terms of the two main differences between Singapore's land borders and the air and sea borders is that for Singapore's land borders, you don't need a pre-departure test, and now you don't need to do the SG arrival card. Beyond that, the measures are generally in sync. So if you are coming in by sea or coming in by air, you do have to take a pre-departure COVID-19 test that can either be done through an ART test that is virtually supervised or done by a professional, or you can do a PCR test. So that's only when you are coming by air or sea. Then in terms of the other measures, generally, you have to have proof that you are fully vaccinated. So my understanding is that this vaccination status won't be actively checked at the checkpoint, because MOH has worked with ICA to kind of have your vaccination records accessible to immigration officers. So that's one thing. But for foreign travelers, do make sure that you have your vaccination certificate, be it a digital one or a physical one. And for people who are unwell in the 7 days before departure, they are advised not to travel, to defer their travel to Singapore. And lastly, across all the land borders and the air and sea borders, if you are aged above 13 and you are not vaccinated, you have to serve a 7-day stay-home notice after arrival in Singapore.
Well, thanks so much to Ting Wei, transport correspondent Toh Ting Wei there, who has a helpful article on the latest travel requirements at Singapore's land, air and sea borders. Anticipating a surge of Singaporeans heading over for the long Good Friday weekend, hotels in Johor Bahru have increased their room rates. Travel booking platforms are reporting that hotel bookings for this coming weekend are more than double those of last weekend, with prices on TripAdvisor, for example, rising by 18%. Also in the news, New York City police are looking for a 62-year-old man named Frank James, calling him a person of interest in connection with the shooting aboard a subway train in Brooklyn on Tuesday. Police are offering a $50,000 US dollar reward for information leading to his arrest. 10 people were shot in the attack.
As the train approached the 36th Street station, witnesses state the male opened up 2 smoke grenades, tossed them on the subway floor, brandishes a Glock 9mm handgun. He then fired that weapon at least 33 times, striking 10 people. The male then fled the scene, and detectives are actively trying to determine his whereabouts.
The man considered to be Beijing's pick for the next Hong Kong chief executive says it won't be an easy race, even though he's expected to be the sole candidate in the May 8th election. John Lee has formally submitted his candidacy after securing nominations from more than half of the city's election committee. Rental prices in Singapore are still going up. Condo rents rising at a quicker pace of 2.9% in March compared with February's 1.4%, while HDB rents rose by 1.4% compared with 1.7% the month before. After months of decline, rental volumes for both HDBs and condos rebounded last month due to the easing of COVID-19 rules and the return of foreign workers and expatriates. Waking up to panoramic views and living by the water is a dream come true for many people, and that's exactly what the upcoming development at Singapore's southern waterfront has to offer. Some 9,000 new homes will be built on the 48-hectare site of Keppel Club, comprising 6,000 public housing flats and 3,000 private residential units. The first BTO HDB flats, as well as the private homes on the site, are expected to be highly sought after. Well, let's get a property analyst's perspective. I'm joined by Ismail Gafoor, CEO of PropNex Realty. Ismail, given the site's location and the larger development of the greater southern waterfront, what types of buyers do you see vying for a unit?
I'm very sure this plot is going to have a huge interest, not only from locals, including foreigners. You know, Olivia, as long as it is waterfront living, there's huge amount of excitement. But I must say, for the last 2 years, especially during the COVID period, Singaporeans are the ones who have been picking up most of the units that were sold even in the core central regions. Therefore, I think it is going to have a good interest both locally and as well as foreigners, because this is going to be an iconic development integrating lifestyle, near workplace, and as well as nature.
Do you think we'll see more smaller, younger families moving to that area?
I think when we talk about the private property, it is not going to be cheap, because we reckon the price range is going to be anything well above $2,500 per square foot. It could be, yes, people who are active, who wants to have the activities within the doorstep and yet can go to central business districts to work. Yeah, there will be a mixture of not only younger, but also middle age group as well, because they have the greater purchasing power, Olivia.
I see. Well, Ismail, for the 6,000 HDB flats that will be available at the Keppel Club site, how do you think these units will be priced?
I think when we look at it, again, you know, the government have already come out with some new policies as far as the prime location homes are concerned. And that's the model we anticipate that is likely to be put in place for this location so as to allow more Singaporeans to qualify. One of the key restrictions will be the MOP is not 5 years, but it is going to be likely to be 10 years. And that's necessary because we have seen many a time in the past, the lottery effect of Singaporeans getting a public housing in a prime location and hitting $1 million in the resale market. As far as pricings are concerned, I think a 3-bedroom will likely to go anything between $400,000 to $450,000, and a 4-bedroom is likely to start well above the $600,000 mark and may go to $700,000 and may even be slightly higher than $700,000, Olivia.
Wow. So despite the price tag, as you mentioned earlier, it's waterfront living. So I can only imagine that these homes, both public and private, will be very popular. Ismail, do you expect yesterday's announcement, though, to unsettle the housing market?
I certainly don't think so. It is going to create any kind of an immediate knee-jerk or an unsettled situation, simply because when we look at the numbers of 3,000 for the private, and it is going to take another 3 to 5 years before all these are being launched. And by the time they are completed, well, it may take a good 8 years before the first house is being delivered or so. And therefore, I don't think it is going to create any kind of a significant impact currently, because the current requirement will purely depend on the demand and supply as it is right now.
Thank you so much to Ismail Gafoor, PropNex Realty's CEO. Well, those are our top stories today. You can visit straitstimes.com for more news and our YouTube channel for more videos. Subscribe by hitting the red button below. I'm Olivia Quay. Join me tomorrow on The Big Story.